Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Gaerea, Coma, on October 25th on Season of Mist. The album has 10 tracks, 51 minutes in length, and this is the band's fourth full-length studio album. They are a Portuguese black metal band. When it comes to the design of this record, I think you're going to find an album that on one hand, it offers quite a bit of individuality on a song-by-song basis, but at the same time, they all feel like they have the exact same roots, the same starting point. When you have these two elements together, you have an album that on one hand feels very balanced and on the other hand is very fluid and very dynamic. This makes the record a little bit easier to digest for the listener, takes nothing away from all of the atmospheric elements, from all the darkness that you would expect from one of their records, but it's an album that doesn't necessarily overwhelm the senses. It walks the fine line. It takes you all the way to the edge of where that feeling of being overwhelmed could start to develop, but never quite gets over the hump. And that ability to walk that fine line is what gives this record overall incredible character. As far as the sound is concerned, this is the band's best sounding album to date. It's powerful, it's dark, it's menacing, it's driven, it's melancholic, it's rich, it's textured, it's atmospheric, it's all the above. It's a well-developed sounding album that has clear ideas, clear focus, and it brings a lot of the emotion. If you've seen the band live, it brings a lot of the emotion that you see during their performances into a studio setting, being represented not just by the vocal performance of Guilherme, but also being performed by, or put forward, I should say, by the sound that they created on this album. A sound that is very rich. The production behind this album does a phenomenal job creating movement in two different perspectives. This is an album that has movement forward and has movement side to side, lateral and forward movement, which is really important for a modern sounding record, because this is a modern sounding record. Is black metal being taken all the way into 2024, allowing melodic elements to permeate throughout the sound, allowing atmospheric elements to permeate throughout the sound, allowing the songs to still be penetrating, to still be dark, to still be cavernous, allowing heaviness to come in and impact the song in a much different way, allowing the tracks to have a little bit more life, having moments where they can breathe a little bit better and not necessarily boxing everything in, squeezing everything tightly so that you could get that more traditional sound or that more traditional perspective. This is not your traditional black metal band. And this record, while not necessarily breaking with the past, it definitely opens a new door towards the future, towards the way the band could sound, how they can evolve their own style, their own approach into black metal, not trying to copy somebody else, not trying to be someone else, but rather redefining what that genre means to them, to their creativity and to their sound. And I think this record speaks volumes to that capability. The guitar sound, for example, on this album is very creative. It's very rich, very textured, sometimes super narrow and very penetrating, but then at the same time infusing some melody that adds a level of darkness that moves the sound a little bit more in terms of the width that it has, bringing a different perspective, bringing different layers to the way the guitars are put together. Then you have the drums coming in, and the drums really increase the bandwidth of the sound. A lot of the volume, a lot of the heaviness on this record, it's coming from the drums. I don't think they've ever sounded this good on any other album. The sheer power that they have, the sheer strength that they offer, the impact that they give to these songs, it's something to be aware, it's something to recognize when you're listening to this album. It's not an album that lives off of the guitar sound and puts the guitars in the forefront and allows them to be the dictator of the experience, the dictator of the atmosphere. It's an album that uses all of the elements at their disposal in order to create a more complete sound experience. And that's what this album is, a very complete sounding album. And then Guilherme's voice is phenomenal. He brings into the studio with this record the energy, the emotion that he has when he performs live. And I think this is perhaps the album, first of all, it's the first album where he's doing vocals on, but this is the album where you could really see the translation from what it means to be in front of an audience and perform in front of an audience, to being able to do that now in the record and bring that that sound, that vibe, that atmosphere into a studio setting, and really create an album that translates extremely well from what the fans are used to seeing to what the fans are now hearing, creating a very complete album, the band's best record to date. That is an easy statement to make. They've never made an album that feels this together, that feels this mature and this well developed. Let's just put it that way. As far as favorite songs are concerned, Coma is one of my favorite ones. It's very cavernous, very monstrous, at least the opening of the song. And then you feel like there's this dark sounding experience behind it. The melody of the track really helps. It helps create that sense of darkness that the song has. That dark mood really comes, a lot of it is from the more melodic side of the song. And the vocals really help stretch out the track, infusing a lot of emotion, infusing a lot of different characteristics. The vocals on this song are not one size fits all approach from beginning to end. You have this more aggressive, this more intense, this more emotional push in the forefront, and then you have this other style, this other delivery that's almost like a whimper, like a whispering in a corner at the distance. That also adds a lot of darkness to the track. That also adds a different ambiance to the track. So it's a track that comes alive both sonically and vocally throughout. It has a great instrumental bridge that kind of resets the song, that allows you to catch your breath and reconnect with what's coming next. And then the track finishes almost on a very simmering note. It's interesting that it finishes that way because it kind of, you have this big climatic explosion after that instrumental bridge. So finishing off that way makes sense for the song, but then it makes even more sense when you realize that Wilted Flower that comes after piggybacks off of that experience, and then it continues into this very melancholic sound, because Coma finishes on a very melancholic note. Wilted Flower continues that same vibe, that same mood, and then the track finally opens up and the experience with it also opens up. It's a heavy song. The drums have great impact, but they're not as overpowering as they are in Coma. The drums in Wilted Flower are powerful, but they allow the song to breathe a little bit better. This is a song that breathes a little bit better. It doesn't feel as dark as Coma. It has definitely, it starts off very melancholic, but it's a track that opens up and allows some of the light to come in. So it's a track that breathes itself, that gives room for the listener to not necessarily feel overtaken by the experience of the track. The vocals are also less unhinged than what you get in Coma, but it's a great sense of continuation from where Coma was to Wilted Flower, the two songs almost complementing one another. And then after Wilted Flower, you have Reborn. So think about these three tracks are kind of like a trilogy. You have the first track where it kind of sets the tone for this ambiguous state. Then you have Wilted Flower, which is the result of being in that state. You almost start to wilt away. And then you have Reborn, a sense of coming back from the death and having another chance at the life around you. So these three songs really feel like a trilogy in terms of what they represent sound-wise, vocally, musically. So it's really interesting that that they built these three tracks in the middle of the record, creating a mini trilogy in a very important spot of the album, because it's what bridges the beginning of the record with the end of the record. And Reborn is a song that has great size, great texture, a lot of layers. It's a massive song with a massive footprint. It feels extremely wide, outstanding guitar sound, penetrating but not thin, not narrow. The sound of the guitar is really cut through the listener, but they don't feel extremely narrow. There's a dark melodic essence to this song, and it's a track that doesn't just move forward, it also moves sideways. This is it, Gaerea with Coma, out October 25th on Season of Mist. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.